Salvador González Marco, Voro for the world of football, has been a key player in the recent history of Valencia. During his playing career, he spent 8 seasons as one of the pillars of the team at the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s.
We were really a group of nobodies in the world of football. But we began to grow as individuals, and more than that, as a group. Players like Quique, Fernando, Giner, Camarasa, Lubo Penev. We'd got there, we'd come up from the 2nd division into the top flight. And our first season back in the 1st division, we really suffered. And the following year, Espárrago took over and we finished 3rd. And then the next season, 2nd. The team was growing and players who had been unknown were starting to get called up to their national sides. Other clubs started to show interest in the players, and it was a period of growth.
Then, in the summer of 1993, Voro signed for Arsenio Iglesias' Deportivo, where he witnessed the start of the club's golden age, winning a Copa del Rey and a Supercopa, and making his full international debut.
There were many matches in which we didn't receive a single shot on goal. It was the year when we had the chance to win the Liga on the final day of the season. And I remember that back in December, we had only conceded 4 goals. The defensive structure of that team was awesome. There were 5 defenders plus Mauro Silva in front, and his defensive capacities were tremendous. And we had 4 attacking players with the freedom to roam and score. And of course, we had Bebeto, who scored 2 goals for every 2 chances he got.
In his first season at A Coruña, Voro came close to winning LaLiga. It was only Jukic's infamous penalty miss in the final minute of the season that cost the side their title.
The goal wouldn't come, it just wouldn't come. And then right at the end, we got the penalty. And the whole season seemed to be concentrated in that one moment. It was a real shame that Jukic missed. People always say Bebeto didn't want to take it, but I always say no. The order was Donato, who had been substituted, then Jukic, and then Bebeto. Donato wasn't on the pitch, and Jukic took the responsibility because he was a very straight guy. He was convinced. He had the character. But that's what's so great about football. When the chips fall, you take the rough with the smooth. And for us, it was a terrible disappointment, the biggest disappointment of my playing career. We lost that historic opportunity to win La Liga.
After hanging up his boots at Logroñés and getting his coaching qualifications, Voro has been Valencia first-team delegate for the last few years, where he's also stepped in as caretaker manager at moments of crisis, the last occasion being with the exit of Nuno.
Bueno, la verdad es que son situaciones difíciles.
There are always complicated situations because they all have a common denominator. Whenever I've had to take over as caretaker, it's been because the results haven't been as good. And the managers had to go. The first time was probably the most difficult because the team had been prepared to fight for the Champions League places. But we found ourselves just 1 point out of the drop zone.
Por estar en Champions, al final, poco a poco, la dinámica te lleva y que estás a un punto del descenso.
In the end, though, we managed to avoid relegation. The second time, it was just for the 1 match. It was a Champions League game when Pellegrino had been sacked.
Fue cuando estaba Pellegrino de entrenador, la institución de Pellegrino, y luego la tercera.
And then the third time was very recently. But the common denominator has always been the same. It comes at the end of a run without getting the results. And when that happens, it's always the manager who pays the price. I'm delighted to be able to offer to help if the club needs me. I'll always give of my best to help the club.
Because Voro is, above all else, a clubman, totally committed to the Valencian cause. After almost 350 top-flight appearances as a player, Voro is one of the legendary defenders of the greatest league in the world.